Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so here is my Star Wars pinball machine. I just set this up, as you guys can see here, and I actually think it looks fantastic, guys. Look at the side art on the left-hand side of it. This is the old school Star Wars on this side that they did the artwork, which looks fantastic. And then you got the front here. As you guys can see, it's got the digital plunger there. It's got the on and off, the volume switch, little fake quarter door there. And then on this side, I know some of it is covered a little bit, but you can see that this is the newer gen side of Star Wars, which also looks fantastic. And this machine feels really, really high quality. You got the chrome all around the machine here. Feels really, really good, and it looks really good. The legs are really solidly built. Like, this is definitely the most solidly built machine that Arcade1up has ever done, that I've ever owned, at least from all the reviews I've ever done. The quality on this one is definitely above any of the other ones that I've already used or own. Even the speakers on this thing are really, really high quality compared to their other machines. They sound fantastic. No reason, in my opinion, to upgrade them in any way. And the light box here on the back, even though it's not a screen like, of course, a lot of pinball fans would have wanted, but of course it would have increased the price. I think this looks fantastic. The artwork that they did on here looks so good. In person, the video doesn't do it justice, and even better when I turn the machine on and I show you guys how it all lights up. The only small issue I had with this machine, luckily for me, as you guys are looking at, I had no issues with packaging on this one. Like, the package came really well, and there was nothing damaged. The only issue I had, and I don't know exactly what happened, and I'm sure I could figure it out if I kind of dismantled this and opened it up. But this screw on this leg right here decided not to go in, and it won't screw anymore for some reason. And as you can see, it kind of sticks out. And it's the only screw I had an issue with. So I kind of just like leave it in there, and no one knows that it's not really screwed in. Of course, that's not great because then there's only 2 screws on this leg as opposed to 3. But it holds up regardless. Obviously, maybe one day I'll take it apart inside and see why that screw's not going in the right location or what happened, but it will not screw in regardless. And the hole's there, but it's just not gripping in for some reason no matter what I do. But everything else, obviously, as you can see, is solid. Every other screw had no issue. Everything else went together really easily. This, of course, already comes built, so you don't need to do anything with this. This is literally already built when you take it out of the box. The only thing you have to build is the back box, which took me like 20 minutes, and it was put together about not really long at all. And then, you know, it worked after that. So that was the only small issue I had. Everything else, from some of the people who unfortunately got some units that were damaged in shipping and stuff, I consider myself lucky that the only issue I have is a screw, and everything is working. Sound is working, the solenoid's working, all that stuff. But let's go ahead and power this on so you guys can see the intro, because I got this table, guys, because I have a room here that's, you know, dedicated to some Marvel collectibles and Star Wars. As you guys can see here, that's kind of my Marvel corner. And then behind me is my Star Wars corner. And this just flows perfectly with that and looks really, really good and kind of fits the theme. And that was my major reason of wanting this. Even though I already own a 4K pinball machine in the other room, in my arcade room, this in the movie room just fits the theme so well, and that's exactly why I went for it. And the best part about it as well is that when you turn this on, as you guys are about to see here, you can see the back box lights up. Looks fantastic in my opinion. Again, the DMD lights up there. It's lighting up, and the screen is turning on. But what I really like is the fact that it starts playing the Star Wars theme song, and it continues playing that theme song if no one's playing anything, and kind of goes in the background. So when you're having parties and stuff, and people walk around the Star Wars looking at your collectibles, we got him sitting in the corner while you're playing, that I put him back there. Darth Vader's right there behind you and stuff in the room. It kind of just makes you feel like you're all enthralled into Star Wars here. So you can see it's booting up. It takes like about 30 seconds to a minute to fully boot up, and then you're sitting here at the main menu. And you can hear there the Star Wars theme song is playing. I don't want to play it for too long because God knows about copyright and stuff. But you can see that it plays a Star Wars theme song when it plays and when it boots up and stuff, and it's fantastic. And it continues playing until you actually launch a table. So launching a table here, I just want to give you guys a quick look at the interface. So you can see here the interface here that we're looking at of the table. You have the 10 tables that this comes with. So if we go all the way to the left, we got A New Hope there, The Empire Strikes Back, The Force Awakens, Rebels, Boba Fett, Han Solo, Darth Vader, Battle of Mimban, and Masters of the Force, excuse me. And the other table was Arch to Islands. So all these tables that are on here are fantastic. They all have their different unique quirks, of course, for all you guys who are familiar with Pinball FX3 and Zen Studios. And they all keep the high scores. As you guys can see on top, me and my wife have set a couple of high scores here on that one. And then on New Hope here, you can see my initials are at the top. So it does save 10 high scores for each table when you play them. And then you just click the launch button here to enter. You can see you can play up to 4 players. You can reset the high scores there if you want. And you can play 4 players right there. So just to show you guys what a table looks like, so you guys have an idea of what you can compare it to. So I'm going to show you guys, what it compares to on here of this table and what it compares to on my other table as well. So you can see here, this is the table up close. So these are the details. So it's definitely noticeable when I started playing that the graphics are definitely not as crisp and stuff as I'm used to, as someone who's played on a 4K pinball machine before. It's definitely not as crisp as that. I do like the DMD screen. I know some people were complaining about like the fuzziness and stuff, but I actually think the DMD looks really good. I have no issues with it at all. I just wish it took up the whole screen because half the screen's not being used right now. Maybe in a software update that they let us decide if we want to mess with the aspect ratio and just take up the full screen. But as far as what it looks like on there, I think it looks good. But on here you can tell that there's definitely some noticeable graphic differences, and you can see here if I zoom in even more. What that would look like there. Now, scrolling over to the other side, if I bring you guys over to my 4K virtual pinball table, you can see here that this definitely looks much, much better here. So you can see that this is definitely a 4K table, and you can see that it definitely looks better when you're comparing them side by side like this. But that's to be expected. I mean, this pinball bill didn't cost me $550 like that other one did. This is over $1,000, once you go all in, and that doesn't even count having the solenoids that the Arcade1up one has, and the built-in feedback when you shake it for the ball physics and stuff. And one of the other, like we just talked about, it does have the solenoids. So solenoids are basically when you hit this. If you guys can hear that, that's the solenoids working. So that means when you hit the left side, the solenoids are making that noise to give you some haptic feedback of the buttons actually hitting. And what's even cooler is that on the tables, when it goes to the back of the table and it starts hitting that area over there, you'll hear the solenoids. There's 2 in the back then, and you'll kind of hear it from the back side of the table, which kind of is trying to mimic, since this is obviously a digital table, of what it would feel like and what you would hear if you were playing on a real pinball table, because obviously that would be clicking and clacking if you're playing on a real pinball table with the ball hitting, the metal pieces and stuff on the table. And the solenoids are there to help you give you that impression. One of the other things you can also do on here is actually shake the ball, which is hard to do. So I'm going to attempt to show you guys a little bit of it. So you can see I have it right there. You can see the ball. As you shake the table, that's how you nudge. So it's got an accelerometer in there. And you guys shake this thing pretty well. But what I have heard is actually, instead of moving the whole table back and forth, one of the other ways you can do it is actually just hitting the side. That seems to work a little bit better. See how much easier that is? I'm kind of smacking the side. You still got to give it some force though. So you can see the ball is moving and is reacting, but you definitely got to give it, some actual shake. So, I mean, it does work. As you can see, it does work when you move the table, but it does take some effort. Like a kid who plays this table is going to have a little bit of a problem. So I actually wish that they gave me both options on this table, which is having the nudge buttons on the side if I wanted to use it, or if kids are playing with this, as opposed to just having it how it is now, where now you can't nudge unless if you're moving the physical table, which is definitely not as great. So guys, in my personal opinion here, I think they did an overall good job. There are some things that I can complain about for sure. Of course, the screen is technically actually a 1080p screen, but their board only supports 720p, so it's outporting at 720p instead. And that's why you guys are seeing a 720p signal coming out of this. But it's definitely noticeable, like I talked about before, but it's not the be-all, end-all in my opinion. And it still looks good enough, especially if you didn't know any better. I think you guys are going to have a fun time no matter what. But that is something to keep in mind and something to definitely complain about. We all wish it was running at 1080p instead of 720p that it's running at now. My other complaint is, of course, this screen here. I wish it was taking up the full screen. I have no issues with how it looks. I think it looks pretty good as far as like the look of it. But I wish they gave us an option to not care about the aspect ratio and make that full screen. But those are my 2 major complaints, is the screen and that. I think everything else for me, they did a really solid job on. The solenoids, somebody who's never experienced it before, definitely feels really solid. When I hit the left and the right bumpers, or the right flippers, there's no, there's actual feedback there, which is cool. And then hearing the ball bounce around in the back with the solenoids is also really cool. Something that I've never had before on my pinball machine. So that gives me a different experience here. And the artwork they did a fantastic job on with the back glass there lighting up and the side pieces and all that stuff. Like I said, this is the best construction I've ever gotten from Arcade1up. I think the sound is also fantastic on here. They did a really solid job with pretty much everything. The 10 tables that come on here are fun. I hope that one day that maybe they decide to at least let us have the rest of the Star Wars tables. I doubt they're ever going to obviously open this up and have like an app store of all these pinball tables from Zen Studios. I really doubt that based on their current model and how Arcade1up does things, but we're obviously not going to buy 2 Star Wars pinball machines from Arcade1up. So that's obviously not something that anyone's going to do. So it'd be nice if like in an update or something they at least gave us the rest of the Star Wars tables so we can have them all on here instead of the 10 that come on here. That would be something cool that they could definitely do. It doesn't go against their needs because they're not going to come out with 2 Star Wars pinball machines. That would just be absurd. So that's something I hope that they do in the future. But now I want to kind of switch it up a little bit and show you guys a perspective of what this table would look like for my wife on her side, because I gave you guys, the technical details of the table and what I think about as someone who's played, these tables on a 4K pinball machine and has had a 4K virtual pinball machine for a while now. But my wife is kind of new at this. She's never seen this table before, and she's going to play it for the first time. And then we're going to have her tell us what she thinks comparing this Star Wars machine versus the 4K, machine that we have, playing them back to back, the exact same table on both, and then see what she thinks. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so here we are. I wanted to give you guys a different look on what somebody else might think of playing on this Star Wars table compared to the 4K virtual pinball that I have on the other side, because I gave you my technical outlook on what us technical folks are going to think when we play, this version of Arcade1up's pinball versus the 4K pinball that I have over there. But this is now my wife who's going to be playing this for the first time. She's never actually played this at all before. So she's going to be playing the Star Wars pinball machine for the first time. And then I'm going to make her play the exact same tables. We're going to do the Force Awakens table. She's going to play both of them. And then I'm going to ask her what she thinks and which one she likes better. So this is coming from a completely casual fan as opposed to, the technical side that I would be doing. So you can go ahead and start it.
Star Wars Pinball, The Force Awakens.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
I was like...
Keep shooting!
Oh. That's what I'm doing.
All right, guys, so now we moved over to the 4K pinball machine that we have. This is a 27-inch 4K with a 1080p back glass, 18.5 inches. So you can see here, she's playing over here now. So she's playing the exact same table, as you guys can see. And now she's going to run through this one, and then we're going to talk about what she thinks about playing on both of these.
Keep shooting!
All right, so she just finished playing on both of those, as you guys saw the gameplay on both. So now I'm going to ask her a few questions just to see what she thought about it. So my first question is the obvious one, which is, which one did you prefer to play on?
Originally, I liked this one better because I was like, obviously it's new, and it feels like it's higher. I think it is a little higher than the other one, so it feels a little bit more comfortable to play. But the other one is definitely clearer, which is 4K, right? Carlos,
Yes, it's definitely a 4K screen.
Carlos would kill me. I should know these things, but I can tell, because usually he says I can't tell, but I can tell between these two that the other one is like better looking.
But do you think that like, even though the other one's better looking compared to this one, like, does it take away from like the game being fun, or you just know because I showed you both, as opposed to, would you would have been happy, if you would have bought this, would you would have been happy with this one, and if you didn't know the other one existed?
Oh yeah, I just know when I first started playing this, I think I turned to you and I was like, oh, is the other one, is this like a little bit not as like blurry? Because I'm like, I feel like I remember like things you saying about the other one, and then when I played it, I was like, oh, this one's like crystal clear. You can tell it's 4K, and it just looks rich. But if you didn't have the other one, this one would be perfectly fine. I would love playing on this.
And what about the fact that like on this table you have a plunger, where the other one's just a button?
It's different because I was like so confused because we've had the other one. So I'm like, I asked him like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, oh, this is different. I feel like I might prefer the other one, but it's a cool aspect. I feel like the originals have this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like I haven't played an original one, so it's something different, but it's cool.
And one of the things that sets this one apart from the other one is that when you hit the left and right bumpers on this one, you feel something when you hit them, and hear something when the ball's bouncing around. So, what about that?
It's cool that this one has like that button feature, I think. I don't
Yeah,
know
the
how
solenoids is what it's called, but it's basically like it's something that gives you tactile feedback.
yeah, like it makes like noise.
Just like if you do it right now, you can hear it right now in the video. She's doing it because there's no music playing. You can hear the clacking. That's the solenoids working on the left and then the right
And
side.
it's cool when it goes up to the top.
Yeah, so like when the ball goes up there and
It,
hits like the parts of the board where there's like the three things, it clicks and clacks on both, and you'll hear the sound from the top instead. And to me, that's really, really cool. I wish I had room to add it in my cabinet, but being that it's a 27-inch, it's not something that could work in there very well. Unless if I took my PC out of the bottom and just put the PC on the floor. Obviously, then I would have room. And just put the PC on the floor in a case and then use the inside for all these things, which I could do one day if I wanted to as a project. But that for me is if I was going to compare both, that's my favorite feature on
You
both
have
sides.
this one now, so now you like.
Yeah, like that's the standout feature to me, just because I don't have it on the other one and I've never felt solenoids before. And I know some people say that this isn't as powerful as I guess people wanted it to be. Like some people online were like, oh, I wish I felt it even more. But again, I have nothing to compare it to because I've never played another pinball machine with it. But to me, these sound fantastic as someone who's never compared it to another
I feel like
solenoid.
it brings back the old school playing.
Yeah, because like the whole point of these clicking things is like when you play real pinball, if that was a real digital thing that it was hitting, you would obviously hear it because it's hitting against metal.
Yeah, exactly,
So it's just trying to make it seem like the table's real.
No, yeah, I remember like playing like real pinball machines back in the day. So it's like this one brings back the old school pinballs, where the other one is like the new day and age.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's 4K, so that makes it's like the new versus old. But I think they did an amazing job, like artwork wise. Like I love this look, like the speakers, the screen, all the looks. Well, the only thing with the other one is has those different like movie clips that it plays on that screen. That gives it an added feature.
Yeah, so she's talking about like the pinup tables, which I've done, you can check out my other video underneath the link if you want, which I did a full tour of the 4K video, but I have pinup packs on there. So I have some Star Wars tables and stuff that have specific videos that play. Obviously, this doesn't have a screen, so you're not going to actually see that stuff. But yeah, I think the artwork on this thing is fantastic. Like the side art that we already showed before. I think they did a really good job and all that stuff on both sides. This being like the classic side. And then, of course, I know it's hard to see because I'm kind of blocking it, but you can see that this is like the newer gen side of the Star Wars. So I think they did a nice job of collaborating both sides of it. And then, like I said, the light up marquee looks really, really good. I wouldn't even think about like modding this thing. Not only because I have a 4K screen already over there that does what I would do to this anyway, but it'd be a shame to get rid of that Star Wars backlash and put a screen because I think it looks really, really good. And like the purpose of what I got this for, even though I already had a 4K one, is because we have like the Marvel section of this room and then we have like the Star Wars section. And this is like for Star Wars fan, like a perfect piece to be in the room with all your Star Wars collectibles and stuff. And that's the reason, that was my main reason of getting it. And it looks fantastic in this room. And it's literally the perfect size for the space that I actually had. So I wouldn't want to like diminish that by taking that back glass out. So this is not one of the machines that I ever plan on upgrading as far as like a back glass or anything. I don't know what I would ever add to this, but it definitely wouldn't be to take away that nice back glass. It'd have to stay Star Wars themed if I ever did anything to it, because that would defeat the purpose of why I bought it.
Yeah.
But so any closing thoughts from you as far as, again, comparing both side by side and telling people if they like why they should buy this one or why, like considering it and all that stuff based on the price? So this obviously goes for $550, which in my opinion, if you want, even if you built a 4K like I did, it would cost you a lot more than that. It would actually be cheaper, believe it or not, and people have done videos on this already. For you to technically buy this machine the way it is and literally almost gut the whole thing out, not everything, you can use some of it, but using this as a shell basically is, and the speakers and stuff and repurposing some of that stuff and, you know, the buttons in the front is still cheaper as somebody priced out on the internet already than actually going and buying this separately. So, but what do you think about for all those folks out there who are considering to buy this?
I think if you're a Star Wars fan and a pinball, old school pinball fan, I think for the price and everything, how it looks, feels, the buttons, you should get one. Everybody needs a pinball machine in their house. So.
All right. So I have similar thoughts, guys. I think if you guys are Star Wars fans, huge Star Wars fans, this is going to be an awesome piece in your game room for sure. Definitely something you guys should consider adding. And if you guys are afraid of the fact, as you heard her saying it, if you've never had another pinball machine before, especially if you've never seen one in 4K or anything like that, and this is your first pinball experience, you guys are going to be, in my opinion, really, really happy with it. And if you are someone like me who got it for the purpose of, you know, how great it looks and all that, and the solenoids and stuff and the different experiences that it offers, but still have a 4K pinball and you know what you're getting yourself into, as long as you have your expectations in check, I think you guys are going to like it. Just know that, yes, it's definitely, if you've played a 4K pinball machine, or even if you've played these tables on a 4K monitor on your PC without using a real pinball machine, there is a substantial difference of clarity, this one versus the other one. But like we both said, and like she said, it's, if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't know, and you wouldn't come onto this table when we have people over and be like, oh, this is terrible. No one's going to come to our house and think that. They might say that when they play both tables side to side, like I just did with my wife, and she saw the difference. Then she's going to be like, oh yeah, that one's definitely clearer. But if they never see it and they never notice, they're going to just have fun and not something that they're going to even think about. And even me, once you start playing it, once I stop looking for the fact that the graphics aren't as clear and you just get into it and the music is playing, you're like enthralled in Star Wars and you're looking at the artwork and everything just matches, which is what sets it apart. That kind of goes away and you're just having fun playing the table because it plays fantastic at 60 frames a second. So that's it. If you guys have any questions about anything you guys have seen in the Star Wars video or any questions you guys have about it, leave those down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.